Hi, welcome to KXAN Plus. I'm your host, Esmeralda Zamora, and we have our Nick's First Warning weather episode with our chief meteorologist, Nick Bannin. Nick, what are you clicking and clacking over there?
I think my ring is just tapping on the microphone. It just must be my wife's way of letting everyone know I'm married. So,
well, thanks for joining us here. I'm excited about today's topic. How are you doing?
We're talking about lightning, which is, something we could get any time of the year here in Central Texas. We can get severe weather at any time as well, but especially in the spring into early summer is when we get the majority of our stronger storms that often contain lightning. So we would talk about how lightning develops, the types of lightning, the dangers with lightning, and some new statistics recently released about how much lightning we get in Texas. The results may or may not surprise you, but we're certainly up on the list of states that experience the most lightning. That's a little preview for you there.
And when does severe weather season start here in Central Texas?
It has started. Started March 1st, continues through May into early June before dropping off. But May is the peak of severe weather season. But an important note is that a storm could have a lot of lightning and still not be considered severe. Mm-hmm. You've got to have large hail damaging wind or a tornado to be considered severe. But we're still concerned about the dangers that lightning can bring as well.
And we can expect lightning throughout this severe weather season. So it's important to know about it, how to stay safe from it, and all the statistics that come with it, right?
Yeah, and that's what we're here to do today.
Well, let's do it.
All right. Let's first talk about how lightning forms. And this is a complicated graphic that maybe we can take full screen if we can, because it's got a lot of factors to it, a lot of steps regarding the development of lightning. And I should preface this by saying that as I was digging into putting these graphics together, even the most current research, there's still some conflicting information about the full processes which develop lightning. But this is our current understanding so far. And here it is that within a thunderstorm, especially a taller thunderstorm, you've got rain moving in it, and you've also got some ice in the form of either graupel or hail moving up and down within a thunderstorm thanks to the updrafts and downdrafts within a storm. And it's thought that the movement of ice within a storm that also contains rain helps to separate charges within a thunderstorm. Positive charges get pushed to the top of a storm, higher up in the clouds. And the negative charges, the electrons, get pushed to the bottom of the clouds, of which you can see that here. And at the same time as the electrons are getting pushed to the bottom of the clouds, positive charges are starting to develop
at the bottom
on the ground.
Yeah.
So and these electrons start zigzagging their way downward from the cloud in a process in a sort of a zigzagging motion called a stepped leader. And as that leader starts to near the ground, it starts to draw some of those positive charges on the ground farther upward, okay? So this is all happening before a lightning strike even develops. Mm-hmm. So as that leader and the streamer's what's coming down from the ground up, start to merge, you get a powerful electric current that flows. And so the current is there, and the return stroke is what we see. That's the bolt of lightning that appears that it's coming from the cloud. But it is not a one-way street here in the fact that we're not just seeing this thing coming down from the cloud and getting to the ground, because we're also getting a response from the ground, those positive charges building up toward the cloud. But you've heard the phrase, Esme, lightning never strikes twice.
Yeah.
First of all, that is not true, because there are many tall buildings that get struck multiple times per year, sometimes multiple times per thunderstorm.
But maybe they're thinking the same lightning bolt doesn't strike twice. Maybe it's a new one that strikes.
I think the origins of the phrase are more about, well, if that place was struck by lightning before, it won't be again.
Oh, okay.
But, it's just not true because of how many tall buildings with those lightning rods on the top of them get struck throughout the year. But even if that were true, even if the phrase were true, then it becomes untrue because of the fact that this process of the return stroke traveling from the cloud down to the ground actually happens multiple times.
Yeah.
So this path that's been created by the step leader and the streamer actually allow for multiple flashes of lightning that can sometimes happen so quickly that it just looks like one lightning flash, but it can actually happen several times as that lightning strike is developing. And you may wonder about the thunder. So these lightning bolts are so hot that it causes the air to expand very rapidly, that air that has been superheated around that lightning bolt, expanding super rapidly and almost explosively, causing the sound of the thunder as a result of the shock wave of that superheating of the air. So the thunder you hear is the air exploding because it gets so hot. But remember, light travels much faster than sound. So that is why we see the lightning first, and then you hear the thunder later. The shorter the time between seeing the lightning and hearing the thunder, the closer that lightning strike is to you. But as we always say, if thunder roars, go indoors.
Yeah.
If you can see lightning or hear thunder, you are close enough to a storm to get struck by lightning.
Yeah, and that's why when you're at a football game, if you hear the thunder, they tell you to go away because the game is canceled.
Yeah, they'll cancel it, they'll delay it, they'll often wait 15, 20, 30 minutes between the last lightning strike within a certain vicinity of the stadium before they will let people back in. And it's certainly not a great place to be, is sitting outside in a stadium during a thunderstorm. But we'll get to some of the dangers of lightning here in a little bit.
So you debunked quite a bit the fact that the lightning doesn't come directly from the cloud. It's actually communicating with the ground and the cloud.
Yeah.
And also the fact that, what was that last
That
thing?
lightning doesn't strike twice.
Yeah, that lightning doesn't strike
The
twice.
same place. Yeah, it
So
strikes.
two things that I thought were true.
Yeah, well, that's
not
why we it's a good reminder this time of year, especially as we start dealing with more thunderstorms that contain lightning, to get a little refresher about where it comes from and what causes it, and also what we don't know at the same time.
Another thing I didn't know was that there's different types of lightning, right?
Yeah, and by the way, this process can take less than a second to complete. Yeah, different types of lightning, some way more common than others, and you can see all the different types here. Intra-cloud is the most common. That is when lightning is the bolts are moving in between the cloud. We mentioned the separation of the charges, the positive charges moving to the top of the cloud, the electrons, the negative charges moving to the bottom of the cloud. So there's already a separation of charges within the cloud that needs to be rectified or balanced. So those intra-cloud strikes are the most common. But the second most common are the types of lightning strikes that we're most concerned about on the ground. It's the cloud to ground lightning strikes. Those are very common. Those are what we're worried about. Those could cause injury or death. They can also cause fires. And those are very common as well, just not as common as the intra-cloud strikes, therefore, within a cloud. Another type of cloud to ground lightning strike is a cloud to ground positive lightning strike. These are uncommon, but can be extremely powerful. These are coming from the anvil of the thunderstorm, meaning the top as it sort of shoots out ahead of a storm, and can go from the very top of a storm down to the ground. These are not as common, but they can be super powerful. And these are some of the types of lightning strikes that can catch people off guard the most, because the way that those lightning strikes can branch out away from a storm, they can actually strike as far as 15 miles or so away from a thunderstorm. And you may have heard of the phrase, a bolt out of the blue.
Yeah.
That's when you have blue sky above or fair weather above you.
And just a random
And then a random
bolt.
lightning strike way away from the thunderstorm. And these could be the most dangerous, not just because the lightning itself is more powerful often in these cases, but because you are thinking that you've still got some time to get indoors because you think the storm's way too far away to do any damage or danger. And these bolts, as I said, can jump super far from a thunderstorm. And then let's get into some of the other less common types of lightning strikes. We've got cloud to sky strikes. So
that strike is going up?
The light it's going up or out away from the cloud, potentially discharging within the sky or onto, into basically not the ground or not within the cloud, right? And then we've got cloud to cloud strikes. This is not the intra-cloud strike where the strike is happening within the same cloud. These are bouncing around between different clouds. So they're less common, but can still happen. And then this one's sort of interesting, and I tell you, I cannot explain this one at this point. I did not research the specifics on this one yet, but ground to cloud. So going in the reverse direction. Now, we already mentioned...
What would cause that?
I don't know this particular one. But we mentioned the relationship when we talked about how a typical lightning strike forms. There is a relationship already between the ground and the cloud. Those positive charges reaching up from the ground, the negative charges reaching down. So there's already a relationship between the ground and the cloud here. But typically... The bolt, the strike is going from top to bottom.
Yeah.
But I imagine that because there's already a relationship between the ground and the cloud here, that the bolt is just going in the opposite direction with a similar sort of charge separation there. But again, it's super rare, and it is certainly not the type of lightning strike that I am most concerned about because... that is a strike going up into the cloud and not one that would cause us as much of a risk here down in the ground. But anyway, so lots of different types of strikes, but it's the cloud to ground strikes that we're most concerned with.
Yeah, especially for those buildings here in Austin that are very, very high, very tall, up in the clouds. Some people can look out of their window and just see clouds because that's how tall the buildings are. So those are more susceptible to lightning strikes, right?
Yeah, and often as you're sort of out on your own, the lightning is attempting to find a path of least resistance where those positive charges are working their way up, the negative charges are working their way down. So those taller buildings, the trees and that sort of thing, become a place that gets hit by lightning more frequently. And speaking of places being hit by lightning more frequently, Texas made it to the top of a list. Esme, we don't really want to be on the top of.
I don't know if we want to be the top of this list, but 47.3 million strikes, I'm guessing,
in
that was
last year. So there's a company called Vaisala Xweather is their full title, Vaisala Xweather. They are a lightning detection company, among other things. And each year over the last few years, at least, they put out this list based on their lightning detection that they do of where lightning strikes are most common, how many lightning strikes there have been within a particular year over a particular state, and then they do the rankings. And there we are right at the top, 47.3 million lightning strikes over Texas, more than double the number 2 spot of Florida. But remember, Texas is a massive state and bigger than Florida. So we've got more area of which lightning strikes could hit. So the odds are sort of in our favor anyway for getting lightning strikes, and the geography certainly helps us take the number 1 spot here.
Well, I hope we're not the number 1 on this list for too long. Do you think that we will stay in this position?
The last time I looked at the list and I did a story was back in 2022. And we were number 1 on that list as well by a long shot. So it seems safe to say that unless our atmosphere of the United States changes a lot and we end up in we are already in a drought, but a more significant storm drought, we're way too far ahead of the number 2 spot for it to seem even remotely possible that we would not be number 1 in any given year. But
let's see how this year goes.
Yeah, let's see, right? So anyway, so they looked at the number of lightning strikes over a state, and then we were number 1. But then what Vaisala Xweather did is they broke down the data and then and factored in the geography to get the density of the number of lightning strikes.
And we are not on that
We
list.
are not number one on that list, but we are number 6.
So we are on the list.
This basically means that Florida gets more lightning strikes or lightning events per square mile than we do in Texas. But we still get the most over the course of the state. But they are just more densely concentrated as far as the lightning strikes go in Florida compared to Texas. So Florida's number 1, Oklahoma's number 2, 3 there is Louisiana. I've got the full list of the top 5 with the other 2 states on our website, KXAN.com. But there we are at number 6, 68.1 lightning events per square mile.
4 is Mississippi, 5 is Arkansas, for
there you
anyone
go.
who's wondering.
Yes, so number 6 is where we are. Interestingly, Esme, when I did this story back in 2022, we were number 10 for the density of lightning strikes. So we're higher on this list than we were back when I did this back in 2022. Seems like every 4 years I'm interested in lightning again.
I was going to ask why.
I should do this more frequently.
This topic?
I know. Maybe I'll do it every year and update people on the list. But anyway, so we're high on the list. We're just not as high from a lightning density perspective as Florida. Interestingly, the same company, Vaisala Xweather, also looked at lightning capitals of the country.
Wow.
Are
we on that list?
So there was at one point when I did the story a few years ago that a city within our Fayette County actually got the top of the list. I think it was close to Flatonia.
Wow.
But this year, the lightning capital of the U.S., I think it was Shady Grove, Oklahoma, was the city with the most lightning strikes per square mile within the city
Oklahoma
of any
has
city.
Lots of storms, though, right?
Yeah, I mean they are renowned for it, right?
Yeah.
Tornado Alley, as it has become known, goes right through Oklahoma, and it's no shock that they would have that. But it was sort of interesting a few years ago when we did have the lightning capital of the U.S. here within Texas. But now it's back to Oklahoma, at least Shady Grove, Oklahoma, from a city perspective. But it is also interesting that Florida did not have the city with the most lightning strikes per square kilometer, despite the fact that the state as a whole does have the most dense concentration of lightning strikes.
And with lightning strikes, we do also have to talk about lightning deaths because it's something that happens and it's something that if we learn more about, we can probably prevent. But
yeah. And that's the thing is, I don't want to say that they are completely preventable because
education helps.
Education for sure helps, and doing your best to avoid certain situations helps. But that lightning out of the blue example here that I talked about is an example of a difficult storm to get out of the way of when you think it's, too far away to impact you. It may not necessarily be. So the most recent data we have on lightning statistics nationwide is that we average 27 deaths per year in the United States from lightning, and that the average number of injuries per year from lightning is 243 injuries per year nationwide from lightning. But roughly 10% of the people that get struck by lightning end up dying, and the odds of being struck in your lifetime are 1 in 15,300.
That's a good odd.
Yeah, it's perhaps more likely than you would have thought. People will compare a lot of things to, I'm more likely to be struck by lightning, and in a comparison to winning something or
to
what
winning
have
the
you.
lottery or getting your dream job. I don't know.
Right, and you are much more likely to get struck by lightning than win the lottery. I think the odds of winning the Powerball in any given week are 1 in 291 million or something like that. So you're way more likely to get struck by lightning. And remember, that's the odds of winning the lottery on one day. This is the odds of being struck by lightning in your lifetime. Mm-hmm. So not by being struck by lightning in one particular day.
More like many, many, many years.
And what's interesting here, too, is the percentage of lightning deaths that are men is way up there at 79%. And it sure is a shame that anyone has to die, but it is a big contrast between men and women as far as the odds of lightning killing you, and vastly leaning toward men being more likely to die from lightning than women. And by the way, in this article, I don't have a graphic up on it, but I do have some statistics on lightning deaths within Texas. That some new data that I just got yesterday that digs into that.
Is it this?
It is nearby there. I think it may be a little toward the bottom.
This is the bottom.
Yeah, so maybe it's a tad higher than that then. I'm pulling it up here on my computer as well. So, and I think I bolded it too.
Oh, right here.
Maybe easier to
58
see.
lightning fatalities and 198 documented injuries.
So that's since the year 2000. And
In South Central Texas, there have been 4 fatalities since 2000.
yes.
Of
So-
those, 3 of those occurred in September, another in June.
Yeah, and that was interesting is that September, which is, sure, it's a month that we can get storms, but it is not our stormiest month.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of the problem is that it's not a time that people have necessarily been thinking about lightning and storms, and maybe they were caught off guard.
Or working outside.
Or working outside, or here for a festival or something like that. But anyway, one of those 4 deaths in South Central Texas was in Austin back in September of 2016.
Not too far away.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it was just a few years ago. This is only data since the year 2000, though. I think year 2000, they started collecting a bit more of this sort of information.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it true that if you get struck by lightning and you survive, that you get a white strand of hair?
I have not heard that. I think in general, the impacts to your body are
severe?
difficult to predict.
Oh.
It depends on what you're wearing, what you're holding on to, where you are when you're struck, that sort of thing. And it can impact the body in different ways. Certainly, there can be very debilitating injuries that come from a lightning strike. I have not heard that specific one about your hair, though.
Maybe it's not true.
It sounds a little
cartoony.
Yeah. But we do have some details on where people are or where people have died and the locations where they were when they were struck by lightning. And we'll highlight some of the areas that people have been that have killed the most people, and that is under a tree. We talked about the development of lightning, again, back to the very beginning of our conversation. And lightning finding the path of least resistance, those positive charges coming up, the negative charges coming down. And many people would, in a thunderstorm, try to seek shelter under something. Because A, they don't want to get rained on, right?
Yeah.
So they would think, under a tree, I'm not going to get rained on as much because the branches and the leaves would protect me.
But isn't that how the lightning forms from the ground to the cloud?
Yeah, it would be a bit more likely to travel through a tree than it would be an area further open. So we'll often hear the instructions from our friends at the National Weather Service, crouching down low, not making yourself the tallest object in an area so that you are not removing the opportunity to get struck by lightning, but lowering the odds of that at least. Under a tree, 92 people died, and this is between the years 2006 to 2023. And then you could see in water, 69 people died from that same stretch of time. Water is interesting because the lightning may not hit you, but it could hit the water and then travel through the water, and you're still feeling the effects of it as the water conducts electricity. So you're almost increasing your chances of being struck by lightning because the lightning can strike a broader area and still travel through you and cause damage to you. And then the other of the top, say, 4 places, out in the yard,
Mowing the lawn.
Mowing the lawn, doing yard work,
Playing some golf.
whatever it is. Yeah, 48 there. Out in the open. Some of these may seem like they would overlap, but I suppose out in the open but not mowing the lawn would be 43 people died there. You mentioned golf. 10 people on this list died on the golf course. 39 in the field. So field, yard, similar idea. You're out in the open. Maybe you're the tallest object in that area and seemingly increasing your odds. 18 people died on a roof, maybe doing roof work, repair, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
18 on a farm, 16 on the road. Inside your car, only
if you're
one.
on the road, I mean, you're in the way, right?
Well,
if you're in a storm,
your car,
driving.
There's been some interesting new information about the reason that being in your car is a safer place to be in a thunderstorm. It used to be that people thought that, oh, you were grounded in your car because of the tires. But instead, the science points more to the metal shell of your car diverting the lightning around you before going into the ground. So it's less about the tires, more about that metal surrounding you and not, diverting the lightning to you. It's just more diverting it around you that is keeping you safer. So
maybe best to park your car under a garage or something if you're in a storm.
Yeah, in general, yes. If a thunderstorm is bad enough, heavy rain, strong wind, the potential for hail, yeah, get it in the garage. But if you're out on the road, or if you're, say, in a stadium, or you're watching your kids play soccer or baseball or something, getting into the car is safer than staying outside because the car in many ways protects you. Clearly, though, it's not foolproof. And if you can bring this back full screen again.
Inside a home.
Even inside a home is not completely foolproof because of the fact that the electricity can go through the electrical wiring of your home and also the plumbing. But it is still a much safer place to be than being outside. Only 2 people, and certainly 2 is too many, died from lightning inside their home from the year 2006 to 2023.
Wow.
So, 9 in their driveway. I know you've got to think that the vast majority of people during a thunderstorm are inside, so the home does significantly protect you there. Anyway, it's a lot of data to take in. The general idea is get inside, get in a car, get in a house. If you hear thunder,
safety.
Right. When thunder roars, go indoors. There's a reason that phrase is something that rolls off our tongue during a thunderstorm, is because we want you to have the highest chances of survival. And that would give you the opportunity to do that.
And we have your blog that has been published on our website, KXAN.com. You can find it on the homepage. And this dives into everything that we talked about, how lightning forms, the different types of lightning that there are. We also talked about the statistics for 2025, how Texas was number 1 on that top lightning count during that year. We also talked about the density. We're number 6 when it comes to density in 2025. There's this map also. This wasn't part of your graphics, but this shows total lightning density count by county.
So this is sort of another map from Vaisala Xweather showing the county spread and density of lightning. So you get more of a county level view there of where the lightning is at its greatest, and you can see some of the areas where they just don't get that much lightning at all, like the West Coast.
And
the air more stable there right next to the cooler Pacific Ocean. Also up in New England too, they don't get much in the way of lightning, certainly compared to other parts of the country. And you could see the areas that do. The Southern Plains, southeastern U.S., particularly getting a lot of lightning strikes.
Interesting. We also have statistics on lightning deaths, and as well as that map where we were taking a look at different locations.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, this was a very interesting topic. I don't know why did you pick lightning?
We're getting into sort of storm season. Severe weather season, of course, began March 1st, and we figured it would be a good reminder this time of year as storm coverage ramps up as we head through the next few months of spring to give you a little more of an understanding about lightning and some of the dangers that come with it and the things to do to keep yourself safe. And we're just looking out for you.
Yeah, we just are looking out for you. And
Yeah.
if you want to stay up to date with severe weather notifications, you can download our KXAN Plus weather app. I'm sorry, KXAN weather app.
Yes.
And our KXAN Plus
app for your smart TV. What we'll be doing more of in the spring season during severe weather and really active weather evenings is doing some more frequent updates on KXAN Plus on that streaming TV app. So make sure you have it so you can dip in to see what we're updating you on during active weather when we're not on TV.
Yes. Well, thanks for joining us, Nick, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks.